Welcome back to a Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and tonight I am joined by Chris McElwain, and we're here for half-time. It's Ayr United 1, Celtic 1. My prediction of 4-0's already out the window. Chris McElwain, what did you make of that first half?
Who was the player I picked out? I was keen to see. Was it Lenny Egbert? Give away the penalty. That's typical. That's the usual for me with some of my predictions. No, look, I think it's. I tell you, it's a few rough tackles flying in. Nawrocki going off, although I'm not sure what that issue was. I've actually seen the contact Nawrocki going off after about 15 minutes to be replaced by Egbert. We look leggy, we look a bit rusty. You can definitely tell there's players there who are not part of the established first team. Couple of young guys who look a little bit out of their depth at the moment. With that said, I've been quite impressed with certain elements of Kuhn's play. He's looked hungry for the ball, which is good. Again, still a little bit frustrating in his delivery. Kyogo's energy levels look their usual, look good. Again, good composure to take the penalty, which I think a few of the Acsom boys have said begs the question: why is he not our number one penalty taker? I never understood why the man you rely on for goals isn't the one that is first up to take penalties. So I'd be keen to see Kyogo get a shot at penalties, hopefully improve on a record from last season. But yeah, overall, there's not a huge amount to shout about. What I would say is I didn't think Kobayashi looked at a place at left back. You talked about that pre-match. I didn't think he looked at a place without being spectacular. He looked pretty comfortable in that position. And I thought the boy on the other side, Josh Daly, I thought he good energy. Caught at least once I remember seeing in the first half. And I'm trying the coverage, to be fair, is not the easiest for picking out players, particular players you're not familiar with. But he was one that I think I saw a lot of, and I was quite impressed with his energy levels, his willingness. Again, still, maybe lacking a little bit of that sharpness and the understanding of the players around them. But yeah, it's one to watch, I think. One to watch.
There's a few of those players I want to dig a wee bit deeper into. Kyogo obviously gets on the score sheet, virtue of the penalty kick. It was a great move. This is the thing I'd like to point out, because I thought we did really, really well in the build-up play for the goal. And one of the players I want to point out here is Deddy, because he has done so well down the right-hand side to win the penalty, place the ball into Odin Holm. And for me, those two have been probably the standouts today. One experienced, one new coming in.
Yeah, I thought Holm showed good pace, and actually it looks as though he's playing the more advanced role, maybe by virtue of Iwata playing the kind of number 6. And I don't think we've seen Holm playing that far forwards before. It did seem to me that he was getting into some really good positions. I thought his run to win the penalty was excellent. Looked a sore one, actually. Thankfully, he seemed to come out of it unscathed. Certainly, Bruni's got the honest men playing honest. I'll tell you, they're definitely not holding back with some of the tackles. Just hope we can get through the rest of the game unscathed. But yeah, I think Holm has looked pretty good. I think Deddy is looked decent. Probably the ones that we're not used to seeing too much of. They're probably the two that stood out. Actually, I know we lost the penalty, and it was an error by Egbert. I did notice, though, that he seemed to be pretty quick at getting back, even though the challenge was clumsy for the penalty. For a guy his size, he looks as though he's got decent mobility. So I don't want to write the boy off yet. I still think there's something. He's got something there that I'm keen to develop.
I'm loath to criticise any of the young guys when we've dedicated the vast majority of the pre-match to bringing in young players. Absolutely. Every time we have a guest on, we speak about youth development. So you put them in, and I can't really be a hypocrite and sit here at halftime and say hook them back off. I think that sometimes you've just got to let them play through it. And by the way, I think Deddy has been the standout from the young players coming in. I mean, I've not seen as much of that B team as some of the guys in the comments. Tony Cassidy comes in and says that Big Lenny has that in his locker, unfortunately. Right up until that moment, I thought he looked solid. I thought he looked composed on the ball. And then it's that wee lapse.
Yeah, he looked willing to take the ball forward as well. I liked it, a wee bit of confidence. You know, the ball came back to him a couple of times. He didn't try and get rid of it straight away. He was kind of moving forward and actually played a few quick forward passes. Actually, something we've criticised Scales for in the past for not doing quickly enough. So I get what Tony's saying. You know, Tony always makes good points, but I think I get what he's saying. But he's young. These are the kind of things that you want to develop in a player. You want to develop, you know, these flaws out of them, if that makes sense. You know, you want to eradicate the flaws and develop some of the strengths. So there was definitely some good stuff to see there. Clumsy challenge for the penalty, but like I say, it's a pre-season match. Let's keep the occasion in mind. I always go back to, I think, one of John Barnes' earliest friendlies, you know, in his tenure, short tenure with the club, and I think it was Oliver Tebley came on and played in one of the games and looked like an absolute world beater for one game. You know, so always take these games with a pinch of salt.
And then he looked like a panel beater for the rest of his Celtic career. Yes. I remember Amido Balde scoring against Liverpool in a similar scenario and never kicked a ball again for the club. Stephen Sloan, here we go. The cameras at this game are poor. Yes, they are, Stephen. They really are.
It's too low.
Well, the position, you're right, the position's poor, right? I mean, the closer to ground level it gets, the harder it is to map out the movement of the game, really. But the cameras are poor. I mean, they're pixelating. That's the problem. They're pixelating. And I was wondering if it was the transmission, but if the whole screen, including the score and all that, was pixelating, then you would understand it's a broadcast issue. It's the quality of the cameras. I can't tell you who's playing well or not because I can't tell who's on the ball most of the time. It's a hard watch because of the cameras. No, it's a good point, and I'm not sure. Obviously, we're broadcasting it on Celtic TV. Is it being filmed by Ayr United? Because it's an Ayr United PPV. So I'm not sure.
I noticed it doesn't have the Celtic TV logo at the top, so I think it is. I think it's a feed that we've latched onto. I agree with Stephen. I think talking about Lenny Berkman, one of the best things about him coming on is he's quite distinctive looking. You know, he's got the dreadlocks, reminds me of a, you know, kind of very much a Reggie Blinker mold. So he's easy to pick out. Big, solid looking guy.
Margin cursing him by calling him Reggie Blinker.
I know. I had a soft spot for Reggie. You know, the Rocket.
Reggie Blinker's name was Cockney rhyming slang for his performances, mate. He had a Reggie. He had a Reggie Blinker, didn't he?
Had a Reggie Blinker. That's right. Yeah.
Right, and also, sorry, mate.
He was part of a good team, though. You have to admit that. Old,
he did this thing. I mean, listen, I love dreadlocks, right? I love Bob Marley, and he did this thing where he would run up to an opponent, shake his dreadlocks about as if he wanted to challenge him, but never did. Never did get stuck in. Ronnie Glavin, thank you for supporting A Celtic State of Mind. We appreciate it. This is our this is our fourth broadcast of the day. We were on at 12:30 with Acsom Bulletin at 6 o'clock. This is Acsom, was broadcast with Davey Elliott. Check it out. It's episode 6 of our new Friday night show. And then, of course, the pre-match and the half-time. Henke has answered what the problem is. In all seriousness, why are they streaming it from Gavin's iPad? That is why it's pixelating a wee bit, isn't it? Yeah. I'm going to jump on Paddy Lavery's bandwagon and blame Jerry Taylor. He's working for Ayr United TV, right? So it's Jerry's fault.
Is he working? Because he's sending us updates every 2 minutes. I wonder how much commentary.
He's a man of many talents. A man of many talents.
Multitasking.
Can I just say he has got an exclusive interview with Brendan Rodgers, which he's going to send over, and we will maybe have it up on the channel tonight, which would be our 6th broadcast of the day. So yeah, we never stop. And nicked that from us. We never stop. Bain, Welsh, Kobayashi showing how bad they are. Kuhn and you're doing well. Listen, I get it. I don't think everybody has played tremendously well in the first half. I'm loath to criticise any of the young guys. I think that what I would say about Kyle is that he seems too keen to get rid of the ball. We're giving him a lot of possession, but he's 17-year-old. He's never played for the first team, Chris, and I just think it's one of the ones where he's maybe not expecting to get as much possession as he's had. He's panicking a wee bit. He's maybe rushing it a wee bit. He just needs to settle it down. He might get hooked at half-time. I'd keep him on. And I'd say keep playing the ball to him and just run it at the players.
you've got to, it was interesting. It's something that I really picked up on that Bobby Petta spoke about when he joined us for This Is Acsom, and he spoke about how effective it is when a player actually plays with a clear mind and no fear. He said, particularly in attacking positions, and I think you need to expose these young players to as much game time as possible so that they get over those jitters and those nerves. Yeah, listen, I mean, first time I hosted Acsom last week, you should have seen the nerves I was experiencing, so I can imagine how the young fella's feeling. But yeah, it's understandable. I don't think we can come down too hard on the young guys. 17 years old. I mean, my goodness, and you're playing, for the Celtic first team. Okay, it's a pre-season friendly, but it's on television or it's on the network, and it's getting a lot of coverage. I mean, that's a huge deal for a young player. So, but at some point as they progress, they need to get past those jitters and actually repay the faith that the manager's showing in them. So, yeah, I agree with you. I would keep them on. Games are not easy. It doesn't matter who you play for. Games are not easy. Your player at Celtic, the standards have got to be kept high. So you've got to learn what it means to hit those standards. And I think, giving him as much exposure through this game and maybe some other appearances through pre-season will only do the boy good. But as I say, we can't, in a similar manner where we can't get too excited about some of the stronger performances in this game, we really can't come down too hard on on the criticism side.
No, you're right, because I mean, if you were to take him off and bring on, let's say, Yang, for example, what are you going to learn about Yang that we don't already know? So I think what you do is you build up the guy's confidence and his character. Don't hook him at halftime, because if you do, he's being hooked after a pretty poor 45, and let him play into it and just play within himself rather than just he's too keen to get rid of the ball. It's like a hot toddy, as they would say. I want to talk about Mike Nawrocki. I'm not going to be too negative here, right? But have we signed £4.3 million of damaged goods here? Because, I mean, I want, if I'm spending that kind of money, and if we spend it this pre-season, it will remain the same. I want 50 games a season out of a player. I want a player to be into the rough and tumble one week and still be fit on a Wednesday night. It's a bounce game against Ayr United, and we don't even know what's wrong with him. He's gone off injured. Right now, listen, yeah, we've got to protect our players if they're injured and there's a niggle, but it's time and time again. This guy can't string a few games together consecutively. If that's the case, I don't see him having, and I'm not basing it on today's game, Chris. It's just frustrating to see, and I'm not sure he's the answer, and I'm not sure he's got a future at Celtic if he can't play the intensity of games. We're playing 2 games a week. We're going to be in Europe post-Christmas. We're hoping to have 10 games. We've got a guaranteed 8. We've got the League Cup, Scottish Cup, and the league games. We need stronger players who will play 2 games a week. We can't have somebody just breaking down after 18 minutes.
No, you can't. As we saw last season, we at certain points were down to the bare bones in certain positions because of injuries. We need squad depth, but we need squad depth of a level of quality. But you need players that the manager can trust to be fit. Now, like, injuries happen to every player. I mean, my goodness, look at Kieran Tierney just now; just can't seem to catch a string of good luck at all. But with Nawrocki, it was for us quite a significant outlay on that player. Comes in, gets injured, doesn't get the opportunity to establish himself in the team, and then at the point where he does get fit, doesn't necessarily seem to be doing enough to get a sustained run in the team, and then and now with injury again. And now we spoke about Kuhn maybe having a breakthrough season this year. Nawrocki kinda has to start justifying his price tag. And look, again, I don't want to be too harsh and too negative, as you say. Look, players will get injured irrespective of what level they play and who they who they play for, and no matter what their profile is. But the point for us is we need a player that we can rely on. We need, I think if we go into the first game of the season and our central back pairing is Carter Vickers and Scales, and our backup is Nawrocki, I don't think the fans will be happy with that. I really don't. I think that would justify a lot of the negative comments around recruitment. So we need to be looking for players that we can depend on to not only bring the level of quality we need, but consistency and a level of fitness as well.
Yeah, it's a concern. It really is a big concern. We're just about to go back into the second half action. And I've got to thank everybody for getting involved. There we go. Home looking very good, says Danny Boy. I agree with that. I think he's used the ball really well. Maybe one or two stray passes, but he's looked good. And 573 versus 13. Hail, hail, Acsom troops. And you're back in a bag of cans. Donny, come on. It's just a bounce game. Thanks, everybody. Thanks everybody for getting involved. Join us at full time. Hopefully we'll be talking about a few goals in the second half for Celtic. All that's left for me to say once again, thank you to Chris McElwain for joining me on a Celtic